Never, ever follow Brett St. Clair on a stage for any reason whatsoever. That was a fantastic talk. But everything today has been about innovation, and it's a subject that's really, really close to my heart. And we've heard so many good speakers and some grand ideas. And I'm really proud to be on the stage with this panel, because this kind of moves us to the next stage. And if I could borrow from Brett, anyone who innovates is already a rebel. By its very nature, whatever business you're in, whether you're in agri, whether you're a small to medium, whether you're self-employed, if you're doing something that solves a problem, you are already a rebel because you're shaking things up and changing things. And really, that's what this panel is all about. So we have some great people here today. On my left, we have Katie Woodward, who's the head of operations at Core Board. Get that right. Tim Jackson next to her is the operations director of Worldwide Fruit. Robin Adlam, who's the MD of Lone Star Analysis. And of course, Claire Foster, who many of you will already know, who's the CEO at Boston College. All four of the people on the stage have one thing in common, and that's the subject of this panel. Because you can't talk about innovation forever. You actually have to do something. Any innovation starts with one person deciding we're going to change something, we're going to do something different. And that's what these four are up on stage for. And so what I'd like to do is to ask them, and we'll start with Tim, if I may, on the left, just to ask everyone if you could just introduce your company, but also tell us about the innovation that you're involved with at the moment, what you're applying in your business to make a difference.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, hey everybody, my name's Tim Jackson. My role is Operations Director at Worldwide Fruit. So I've got 25 years experience in the food industry. Worked for sort of companies like Bakkavor, Samworth Brothers and Greencore over the last 25 years. I suppose my role really is to manage the daily manufacturing of production for Worldwide Fruit. What do we do? Well, obviously clues in the title. We supply around £180 million worth of fruit to the major multiples. So we're bringing avocados, apples, pears and stone fruit from all the way around the world. We're bringing them from over 150 different countries and sort of different sourcing routes and techniques. And then we're bringing them into the UK, and then we are ripening them for the customer. And then we're distributing them through across to 85 different destinations around the UK. So our model is very much, the order comes in at 6 o'clock in the morning. The first vehicle leaves at probably 7 hours from there. So it's pretty fast turnaround. So the requirement for innovation and sort of speed and agility is pretty high. So if I touch on a particular example, which is around the ripening of avocados. So for those people who buy avocados regularly, you would hope to expect to get a really consistent product every time that you eat. And over the years, that sort of technology has changed and improved significantly. So if you imagine, majority of avocados will come from Peru. And they will come across to us, they're on a 2-year cycle, so when they come across to us into the UK, they'll come across probably 14 days after being picked. They'll come into our store. Now, our job is to make sure that every single fruit that comes to us, we can convert to a ripened state consistently, and the end user will then have a really fresh product that is exactly the same every time, which is always the challenge. So the technology we've put in place over the last sort of 3 or 4 years is using AI and using digital ripening technology. So we have a series of chambers and rooms, and we will load them full of avocados. We will then program and say this comes from this region of Peru on this date in this particular area, and then we'll shut the door and we'll let the computer talk to the fruit, and it will essentially, it has a brain. We stand well clear, and essentially what happens is it knows based on the pressure of the fruit and the amount of ethylene that it's sort of that's sort of coming off the product, whether or not it needs to put more carbon in, more sort of oxygen in, and it creates a modified atmosphere that means that when the pallets come out of the ripening chamber, their ripening accuracy is like 99.9%. And to give you an idea, probably 3 years ago, you would yield about 75%. So to give you an idea, we're doing 10 million pieces of fruit a week, 50 million pounds worth of avocados a year. It's worth good money to us. But the real advantage to us was that we didn't go to the customers like Marks and Spencer's and say, we need more money. we said, we're going to give you a better quality product. We're going to increase your shelf life. We're going to reduce your waste, and we're going to do it for nothing for you. Because therefore what it does is it gives us security and continuity of supply, and it makes us a trusted partner of innovation, and our goal and objective and our purpose is to be the customer's first choice.
I mean, that's amazing. It's taking innovation to solve somebody else's problem, to solve your customer's problem, rather than a problem you might have at work. I mean, that's genius. It's incredible.
I didn't create it.
Well, no. But thanks for the avocados, because they were really nice, I've got to tell you. It's excellent. Katie, because you're in packaging and you do a lot around innovation and sustainability, I suppose there must be a relation between the two with transport.
I'm going to sell to him later, don't worry. I'm going to flog later. So Coreboard, so I'm head of operations at Coreboard. I'm officially the referee there. So we make corrugated sheets, so cardboard, everything from your cinema stands to, the boxes the avocados come in, so I'm going to hook him up later. We are a sheet feeder in Scunthorpe, and innovation is something in our manufacturing arena that's kind of scary to us. We don't know where it fits in, and we've spent the last couple of years not necessarily using the word innovation, but using the word change. So taking the areas on site that are really important to us, firstly, obviously, people, that's a huge thing, and then machines. So efficiency and people have been our bread and butter. We've focused on that over the last couple of years, and that has made us sustainable and the partner of choice to many packaging sites. So to give you some practical examples, so our board of directors had the foresight to put a bioenergy site on our actual complex, and we take that energy from the site and it powers our machines. Therefore, our carbon footprint, everything is a lot lower. All our raw materials as well have been changed. They're all UK found and UK distributed as well for our products. So we really try to push the sustainability arena, 14001 as well, making sure the environment's looked after. And then we focus on our people. So just making those small changes. So AI is a difficult one for us. In cardboard, it's not as glamorous. It's quite dirty in that sense. But we used AI recently. You'll see it on LinkedIn. We've put a challenge of a wellbeing challenge, and our staff are going to, including myself, so I need to get a jog on, and we're going to do 10 million steps as a business. So we've joined an app that's going to help us teamwork, build together, and really make a focus on wellbeing, because I found a statistic earlier this year with the North Lincolnshire Council that the average life expectancy for males in Yorkshire is 79, but 59 in Lincolnshire, which is absolutely shocking to me as a manager of quite a few males. So we really focused our innovation and our change on people this year because it's the bread and butter.
I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? You have, again, it's a use of innovation, not for your typical idea of let's make a better process or improve our bottom line. It's really opening your company out to the world. It's got to be right for the company, right, to do that. When you're working on introducing innovation that makes the world, or at least the environment of the world, a better place, that's got to do good. That's good business sense, isn't it?
It is good business sense, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing, that. And I think that the idea of innovation, we've heard a lot about AI, haven't we? And we mustn't get caught up, however, in the idea. AI is a big thing, but innovation isn't just technology. Innovation is process, it's ideas, and more than anything, it's what we do with all of what we now know is out there, massive amounts of data. What practical changes are we making in our organizations to make that work? What innovations are changing in the way we do things? Not just using the technology, but understanding the data. And I know, Robin, that's something that you are, your organization, Lone Star, great company name, by the way, Lone Star. I don't know why the old Western fan in me came out about that. But looking at data, Lone Star analysis, that's what you work with, don't you? This complex data, and you try and bring it into some practical use.
Yes. Lone Star, for the name, was set up 20 years ago in Dallas, hence Lone Star. And we were the company was the difficult questions club almost for NASA, CIA, various organizations. And one of the first models we did, NASA wanted to know what they needed to do to put a man on Mars. So we modeled it. And there's a lot of data, but there's a lot of missing data. There's a lot of holes in that particular future look. And so we modeled it. And when we did that, we designed a process that we've realized we can apply to other organizations. So we look at big organizational challenges whereby you are inundated with data, it'll be poor, it'll be wrong, it'll be missing, it'll be in different formats, and we're able to amalgamate that to help the decision maker make better decisions. So we're all about the D, which is decisions, so decision science in essence. Not really getting wrapped up on the data. And when everyone says to us, oh, we want to use some AI, I'll turn to a screen that's this big and I'll go, right, which bit of this AI board do you want? Because, you know, we had ChatGPT, which is over here, and then we've got Terminators, which are over there. So what do you actually really want? In the case people don't really know what they want when they say AI, it's all things to all men and all women. So we're very sort of, okay, well, we're going to help you with decisions. We're going to be a decision support assistant throughout your how to answer your difficult questions. So we'll sit down with the decision maker who has to trust your output. Now, a little game we used to play with ChatGPT is ask it, what's bigger, 9.9 or 9.11? And 6 months ago, we'd get a little do loop, and it would argue, and you'd ask it to explain itself, and 9.11 was bigger than 9.9. It was like arguing with a flat earther. So you have to build trust when you're building an output, helping someone make an important decision. So some of the work we've just done some work for acute myeloid leukemia, where the center for that particular nasty disease didn't know whether they were under or over referring people for bone marrow transplant. We did the model, there was a lot of data that was missing, so you ask people. People have data in their heads, you don't have to have it written down. So you can then extract that data and put it into your model. And we came out with we said you're about 60 to 80% probabilistic, not deterministic, because we don't know the future. And a lot of what goes in varies and happened on that day, but it might have happened a different way. So always be probabilistic, don't have a single answer. That enabled them to work out they were under-referring by about 60 to 70%. And now we're working on what to do about it. We're about to start colorectal cancer, Northeast Cancer Alliance. This is a really simple logistics question about how do you screen for colon cancer. And at the moment, no one can agree. There's all the data. We're now going to hopefully start running that model next year. Other work we're doing, we are optimizing the Typhoon fleet. How do you take that resource and add value to increase its operational capability? And about to start to do the F-35. So, yeah, taking that data set and helping decision makers. So, as I say to my team, it's all about the D, dummy, and that's the decision. The data will come.
Thank you. That's got to be a lesson. Any one of us running a business, doesn't matter how small, is having to do that. And we are so much more informed, or we could be so much more informed than we've ever been before, because there's so much information out there. I think, as one of the speakers up here was saying, we've got every bit of information we need at our fingertips, and the skill set or the time of investment that we have to make is in deciphering that, into making that data work for us so we can make the decisions we need to make that's right for our company. And if you think about it is all about collaboration. Just up here, let's see, we've already got a cargo of perfectly ripe avocados packaged sustainably going to Mars. Actually, all we need now is somebody to be able to take that flight to Mars and have the technology to be able to do it. And that kind of leads us to the next point, really, and that is technology is great. Ideas and innovation is great, but you have to build in culture. You have to build in the people. Nothing's going to happen unless somebody does it. Somebody starts it. Somebody takes a risk. So we've got to bring those people up, and I suppose that's what brings Claire into it. How are we going to get those people? What's the challenges at the moment at somewhere like Boston? What are you doing differently to make sure that the people you're sending into the world are the right people for the 3 people on this platform?
Thank you, Mark. I think it's a great segue, a bit scary. So Boston College, if you don't know, is a general further and higher education provider tucked away in Boston, but we're part of a network of colleges that reach right across Lincolnshire. So right from Grimsby, right down to Stanford, we provide education for typically younger people, so 16 to 19-year-olds who have decided they don't want to go down the A-level route necessarily and perhaps want a more technical, vocational type of education. Not just school leavers, we also provide education for people who want to pivot in their careers, so people who want to change their job, do something different, or perhaps to be promoted in their role. So the college system in Lincolnshire is, I think, second to none. But an interesting question around what we do. And threaded through a lot of what we've heard today is the notion of skills. And yes, we do provide those technical skills. But I think more importantly, we are developing people to be lifelong learners. So if you think about it, if somebody starts on a computer technology course at the age of 16, and if they'd done that several years ago, what will have changed even during the course of those 2 years? How many of you 2 years ago actually thought about regularly using ChatGPT, for example? So I think our job is really to lead people to be thinkers. And we've talked a lot about creativity this morning, and that's my background from the creative industries. And I think if there's one thing that education can do is to inspire people to continue to learn alongside things like AI, which will augment that learning. As a college, we've been really grateful to the LEP. We've had lots of investment in our manufacturing technology centre, a digital technology centre. All of those, we've got a lovely healthcare suite, and they provide environments where people can come and learn. And those skills, like I said, are really important, but I think our job is a lot deeper than that. If you go out into the education zone, you'll see that my team are out there showcasing the VR stuff that we're doing, which is all really exciting and really sexy. But it's not just for our computer technology students. We're using that technology to engage people who are often quite a long way from learning. In Boston, about 25% of people don't have English as a first language. We're finding the use of AI and technology is opening not just the language, reducing the language barrier, but allowing them to access learning. And that's so important. Equally, we have students who have learning disabilities and difficulties. Get them in the VR suite. They are excited, they're thrilled, they're interested in their learning. And I think that's where technology really can play its part in just inspiring people to be that lifelong learner.
Thank you, Claire. And it's so important that we don't lose sight of that idea that all of our futures, all of our innovations, all of our companies are going to be dependent on the skill sets, the mindsets of the people that are coming out of institutions like yours and how they approach the employment. I mean, the culture, the idea of risk-taking, safe, managed risk-taking, being rebels has got to be important to any company. Do you, Katie, from your point of view, developing this idea that a company has a culture of innovation, that's quite a challenge to bring about, I imagine.
It is, and I think there's two ways of innovation. There's innovation that's necessary in our arenas, especially mine and Tim's, where, you know, if you're making a product and it's not good and the quality's poor, you need to innovate on the machine. So it's a physical innovation. You need to do that, otherwise you're not going to make any money and pay anybody's wages. But then the other side of it is like innovation you're passionate about, you know, like the well-being side of things I'm passionate about. You know, we put a system in 5 years ago where it took all the paper-based systems and put it onto a tablet. So I can go around site now and I'll take pictures on my phone of housekeeping bits that I need to action. And it's so easy. Instead of chasing a piece of paper around, I'm not wasting my time. And people feel like things are done quicker, more effectively, safer. Touching on what Claire's just said about language barriers, safety, number one priority on a manufacturing site. You do not want to go home in a different condition than you came in. Okay. So we're creating safety videos in different languages, but it's AI that is talking over it. So you haven't got my Yorkshire accent with a cold that's coming through. So, you know, it's those bits that are necessary and those things that are passionate about. But like Claire says, you need thinkers. So, you know, in my career, I haven't really had time when you're in operations. Before you know it, it's home time. And you haven't had that time to stare at the wall and go, what am I doing in a year's time? And I'm learning that now. And probably people think I'm being weird in my office. But, you know, I'm thinking, right, where am I going to implement something new? What do we need to change? What is actually my desired outcome? Because I've realised if I don't have that desired outcome, I have no idea what path I'm taking.
I agree.
So my challenge now is how do I get my team and my employees and colleagues around me, either one, give me the time, or two, get the time themselves to do that so they can be part of this innovation, because it doesn't just stop with me or Tim, who's obviously in a similar position to me.
That is the thing, isn't it? You've got to start off, I think, maybe it was Brett who was talked about, start with the problem. And to start with the problem, you have to identify, you have to think about it. Everyone in here that runs a business has got a challenge that they're going to go back to after this kind of thing. Well, how can I solve this? And it can only be solved by the people that you employ thinking about that problem and trying to find ways of doing it. But that's a culture thing. You have to allow people. I mean, Tim, how does that work in your company? Do you let people take the risk that's needed?
We do. I mean, it starts with the chief exec. So in our business, our chief exec is very much focused on whether it's product innovation, process innovation, or culture innovation. And it starts, as an example, with when you recruit people. CVs are great at looking backwards, but they don't tell you what's going to happen in 5 years. So therefore, how do you ask the right questions when you're in that interview process to draw out innovative thinking from people? How do you draw out insights of people and what their colours and tendencies are? So that's something that we have a heavy focus on. But every year we have a set of objectives, which is to drive innovation. We measure improvements by the day. We track it around 3 to 3.5 improvements per day across the whole of the organisation. And yes, I recognise that it's the quality of the improvement sometimes. But if you can create a culture where it's psychologically safe to actually explore things, and you can fail, but fail fast, you're okay.
That's a great bit of advice there as well, I think. Getting the culture right, but allowing people to fail fast. I love that expression. This learning. I mean, that idea of ready, fire, aim until you get it right. Yep. Is really what businesses nowadays need to do, because things are moving fast. You can't plan your way to a perfect solution. I suppose. But what you can do is use, again, coming back to the idea of the data that's available, the information, you can use it a lot better than we already do. Every type of business here has data out there about it and about your competitors and about people that are in the sector. It's just a matter of getting it. But how do you create that? I suppose it's coming to you. How do you create in your workforce a respect for the data that's out there and how you can use it to make good decisions?
Two things. First, I think to pick up on that previous point, when we go to an organisation, we're very careful to look out for what we call solutioneering. So when people are really close to the problem, they're really close to their business, they come up with an answer to try and solve the business, but it might be the wrong answer. And so you get a fresh pair of eyes. They come in, well, why are you doing that? Or why don't we do that? You don't do it that clearly, that out. So we'll spend time working out what the big question is. So that's the first point. We then, as you're alluding to, Mark, we have to then understand the organisation. We want to avoid being one of the big four. We'll never be the big four, but come in, let me have your watch, we'll tell you the time. Got to avoid that. And so understanding the organisation, and we call it building a kidney. I don't know why, but we just basically put a kidney shape around all the data one day on the Typhoon, for example. It looked like a kidney. They were all the data sets that took to run that organisation. Not hundreds, but tens of data sets that we needed to get after to start building that mathematical representation. We then we engage with SMEs, subject matter experts that can help us understand the organisation. So we did that with Dr. Tom with AML, leukemia, really bright doctor from Exeter University Hospital. He was really into data and helped us, and we helped him to build the model. Really fortuitous. We've got the same connection into colorectal cancer. Find the expert that's going to help, and then they're going to drive trying to get the answer with us. But we're very sort of open, very, very learning, very sort of sponge-like in, right, where's your data? And then we ask the right questions to get the SME to help. So we run several workshops before we start honing in on the big question. And once we've got the big question, we can then start building the model.
I mean, never more than in the health sector is is it important that you innovate, and that we are, having had some experiences in the NHS, they are a huge monolith that really needs your kind of expertise, because the consequences for us are massive. So making decisions like that with real proper data is important. You'll know that if you're the one sitting in front of the clinician, well, getting him to make decisions about your health, I suppose. But that's, do we understand that? Does the education system understand that? Because, again, all three people on this panel are going to need people that follow that culture. Is that culture being put into we had a question about education before, is that culture being introduced into young people before they come out of education already, do you think?
I think we can do more, if I'm honest. Picking up on what Tim said, it is all about culture, and I think that starts with a leadership that embraces technology, that recognises it's not to be feared. The question around should education change? Absolutely. I think when we at the college can say, how are we going to get over the fact that a student given an essay title can go off and stick that into ChatGPT and probably get back a perfect answer? So we've got to change. But I do think that comes from that culture of opportunity, seeing where those innovations can make a difference. And I think for businesses, understanding that or appreciating that, I'm not saying younger people, but people who are open to harnessing technology and innovation is really what will kickstart that business and really keep it going. I like what you were saying there, Robin. It is about having people who are solution focused, and sometimes you need to introduce somebody into your business that isn't sort of right up at the coalface, that can really see what is the problem we're trying to solve here. And I think the more we can work in education to extend those thinking skills, those problem solving skills, communication skills, keeping the human and using the boring bits, or putting the boring bits into things like ChatGPT. I do it, I use it, and it's created that time that Brett talked about.
I mean, that is, I know from our own experience, I'm sure everyone in the room, well, if you haven't, then try it. If there's a problem that's facing your company, one of the first things, before going on to ChatGPT, go to your frontline team, go to the people that are actually working there and say, this is my problem. I've got this much money to sort it out. Can you come up with an idea in a couple of days? And see what comes out, because my word, when I've done that before, the creativity and the things that I've never thought of before come out the woodwork. And it's incredible when you empower people to do that.
I think as well, just to note, I think we're in the perfect timing as well, so cross-generational. So you've got Gen Z people coming through are far better with technology than myself and some of the guys that were on our management team. But then you've got the balance of experience. So, we've got the perfect blend. If I've got an idea or something I can't get to work properly, I'll go to some of the newer staff that we've hired and say, right, just want to pick your brain. So I think we've got the perfect cross-generational match at the moment as we are as a business. So I think with the skill set coming in, yes, there might be some gaps, but I think the blending is perfect, which is why I think we should get involved more in mentoring, because it benefits us now in this time more so than it did previously, I think.
Isn't that wonderful? Because this time last year, there was a speaker here called Dr. Paul Redmond who talked about intergenerations in businesses, and did a fantastic job about exactly that point, how important it is to engage their different experiences to solve problems for your company, which is perfect. Well, we're coming to the end of this panel now, but I mean, it's been a real education, and I think there should always be a takeaway, shouldn't there? So I would challenge everyone here, having listened to all of these innovators in this room, when you leave here, if you go back to your organization, to your business, just pick out one problem. Pick out that one that's been niggling you, that little thing that's been just causing you a problem, and sit and try and think about it. Use that thinking space in a completely different way. Go and speak to people who you've never spoken to before in your organization about that problem, and see if you can come at it from a completely different angle and decide on a risky but innovative way of solving that problem. You never know, you might pick up a habit of innovation that you'll never look back from. So I've got a few questions here. Before I thank the panel, I've got a few questions that have come up on Slido. And the first one is, how do you measure the success of your innovation, and what metrics are most important to you? Robin, perhaps start with that.
ROI, return on investment, is one of the big key, value. The other thing is sticky. Do you stay? And if you're there 4 years later, then you're doing a good job. And generally bringing value to the decision maker. And for me, I'm a dinosaur here. I want to retire, but I don't want to retire yet because it's really exciting, and we're on the nub of doing some really good stuff. So I don't want to go quite yet. So that's another indicator of success, but that's personal. Yeah.
Okay. Innovating is also exciting. It keeps you interested in going to work every day. I think that's a good thing. I've got time for one more answer to that question. Does anybody else want to?
I'll go, just to build on that, I think that the safest factories with the highest quality and the most engaged people have the highest performance measures.
Right.
They do. And so therefore you will see it in staff retention, you'll see it in absence, you'll see it in other metrics that are more cultural focused, but ultimately it's the ROI that gets the project signed off, that gets it through. But I would say there's more generally. You see 6 or 7 indicators that come through, not just the one.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, ROI has got to be it. We're all in business. We need to keep our businesses sustainable. Return on investment for anything that we do is important. Of course, that must be it. But actually, you can get to, if you can come up with the innovation and then make it give you a return on investment if you think about that as just part of the mix. Look, I wanted to say a massive thank you to Katie and to Tim and to Robin and Claire for absolute great insights into their business. I think a round of applause is needed here. And thank you. And I'll finish off just with a salutary message. My background way back was newspapers, and I stood on a conference not dissimilar to this with some great experts, cutting edge in their field, who said, this internet thing, it'll never replace newspapers. I wouldn't bother. So take some heed from that. Things are changing even faster than they were then. This is a time to be innovative and rebels. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. Thank you.